Now, long before the piano was a symbol of homelessness and failure, the piano symbolized a person's social status within society. For example, a woman's ability to play the piano was seen as a measure of her suitability for marriage. Now, many women who learned to play as children continue to do so into adulthood, a lovely way to provide music within their homes. Now, the only music heard today are buskers getting 2 nickels thrown at them. Now, when the piano was invented in the 1700s, it initially failed to gain public attention due to its high cost and popularity of the harpsichord at the time, an instrument in which the strings are set in vibration by plucking. Now, the piano remained relatively unknown until after the 7 Years' War, when a young man named Johannes Zump fled Germany and settled in London. Now, this Zump guy isn't that important, and certainly no failed artist from Germany, but he inspired one of the most influential musicians today. No, not Jacob Sartorius, but Johann Christian Bach. Now, while in modern days we have exceptionally talented pianists such as Kanye West's Runaway, back then, this new instrument was extremely difficult to play, and very few people learned how to play the piano because of this. Now, it turns out that the Zump guy isn't so useless after all, as this all changed when Zump persuaded Bach, the renowned musician, to Queen Charlotte to purchase and perform on his own built piano, the Zump piano, in 1768. It was the oldest known model of the piano, known as the English square piano, spanning 5 octaves across its length. Now, due to Bach's popularity, the piano quickly surpassed the harpsichord as the leading instrument of the era, with later composers like Mozart and Beethoven opting to perform on a Zump piano. Now, at the turn of the 19th century, the middle class in the Western world began to rise in prominence. Now, keen to display their social standing, Victorian men were just as well as ready to bust to provide for their wives and daughters with ample leisure time and activities, as leisure had become a symbol of status. As a result of this, the piano, often associated with leisurely pursuits, became a marker of a family's socioeconomic position. Now, over the 19th and 20th centuries, the middle class in Europe and North America grew in both size and wealth. Now, as a result, the piano became increasingly important in households, with more families being able to afford both the instrument and the fairly priced piano lessons. Pianos also became more common in public spaces such as schools, hotels, and pubs, as well as the Western middle class culture permeating is crazy, to other parts of the world, in which the piano gained popularity in those regions as well. But hold on a second, I think we skipped about 3 centuries worth of content. So let's go back to the... Now let's go way back in time when the conception of you, a useless part of society, was not a thing. Even your parents weren't a thing, older than even Duke Dennis. Today, we're going way back to the 14th century. Now, the piano's origin can be linked to several earlier instruments like the clavichord, the aforementioned harpsichord, and the dulcimer. However, if we trace its lineage further back, it reveals that the piano is actually a descendant of the monochord, and therefore its heritage classifies the piano as a string instrument. Now, as far as my 5 minutes of research can tell, the dulcimer, which originated in the Middle East before reaching Europe, consisted of a basic resonating box with strings stretched across it. Now, similar to the piano, its strings are struck with small hammers, making it a direct predecessor of not only the piano, but predating the clavichord. Here we pick up as craftsmen in the 14th century improved upon the organ to develop an instrument that was a step closer to the piano, the clavichord. It became super popular during the Renaissance era, as pressing a key would send a brass rod called a tangent to strike the string and cause vibrations that emit a sound over a range of 4 to 5 octaves. Now, here we see the first resemblances to the modern piano, but we're not quite there yet. The harpsichord originated in Italy around the 16th century and eventually spread to countries such as France, Germany, and Great Britain. And when a key is pressed, a plectrum attached to a wooden jack plucks the strings to create a sound, and no matter how hard or softly the keys are played, the volume remains the same. So I could be smashing the keyboard and it still sound like this. Now you may be wondering, what does the predecessor of the piano actually sound like? Well, sounds pretty good actually.
This is the oldest piano in existence. It was made in 1720.
Now, the actual piano began as a speculative invention created by the highly paid craftsman and inventor Bartolomeo Cristofori for his wealthy patron, and as a result, it was an extremely expensive instrument. Now, for a time after its invention, pianos were primarily owned by just the royalty, as they were financially out of reach for most families and largely remained in the hands of the aristocracy. Now, originally called the Gravicciolo col Piano e Forte, the name was later shortened to forte piano or pianoforte, and eventually simply just to piano, which brings us to now, in the late 20th century, digital pianos emerged, utilizing digital sampling technology to replicate the sound of an acoustic piano. Now, these instruments offer several advantages over the traditional piano, such as volume control, the ability to switch sounds, and connectivities to computers and other digital devices. Now, despite the digital revolution, the acoustic piano is still cherished for its unparalleled natural tone and expressive depth. And so is Runaway.
She told me put my heart in the bag, ain't nobody getting